Hi, I'm Michael Santos with Earning Freedom, the Mastermind program, continuing to teach this message of the Straight A Guide. It is a message that I feel very strongly about because it not only prepared me and helped me get through 26 years in prison, but I've seen tens of thousands of other people who've gone through it, who've gone through this course and used these principles to build a more successful life, a success in prison, success when they got out of prison. But I know that a lot of guys inside of there who are going through this program or who are exposed to this program have long sentences before they are anticipating getting out. And I got to say that's perfectly okay. That does not diminish the success of this program. That does not lessen the importance of this program. In fact, what we need is a strategy to get us through those long periods of time, because if we don't, it's very easy to get derailed into this cycle of struggle and this cycle of not knowing what's going to happen. So we really have to be thinking about what can we do today to begin positioning ourselves for success tomorrow. And the only way that we can do that, is if we always keep our eyes on the prize, if we always keep our head in the game. And I can tell you, one of the ways that we can make that work is by celebrating every achievement. That's why achievement is the next lesson in our Straight A Guide program. First is values, right? You identify success. You identify who you are and what you're going to become. Second is going to be goals, setting very clearly defined goals that are going to show your commitment to success. Third, attitude. You've got to go forward with the right attitude, 100% commitment to success. Fourth is you've got to have an aspiration. You got to see yourself as being something more than where you are right now. 5, you've got to take action. You've got to take incremental action steps that are going to take you from where you are to where you want to go. You hold yourself accountable by creating your own accountability metrics, and by doing this process, by committing yourself to this process, you become aware of opportunities that you can seize, and the world becomes aware of you. But all of that is the fundamental steps to growth. How do you refuel? How do you renew the energy? How do you maintain a high level of energy and discipline as days are turning into weeks, weeks are turning into months, months are turning into years, years are turning into decades? Man, I get it. I know how tough it is. But the secret is you take the next A in the Straight A Guide, and that's achievement. You celebrate every achievement. And these achievements are going to be very, very small. You see, there's a lot of people who achieve great levels of significance in life. But the reality is none of that happens overnight. People become successful because of very little steps that they take here, and then another little step here, and another little step here, and another little step here. And it's the cumulative effort of always staying focused on what I can achieve today, what decisions I can make today that will lead to who I'm going to become tomorrow. That's what leads people into growing and becoming more. I remember when I was a kid growing up, I didn't pay attention at all to school. I didn't pay attention at all to my teachers, to my parents, to anybody. And it caused me, to make some really bad decisions when I was in that really awkward transition period from adolescence to adulthood. Made so many bad decisions. And those bad decisions really started to get really bad when I was about 20. That was when I started to engage in crime and selling drugs. And then I got busted. And when I got busted, I lied. I said I didn't do it. I took the stand. I committed perjury on the stand. I did all kinds of problems. I made all kinds of problems and just made my problems worse. But once I got the message, when I was in segregated housing unit, and I got the message that I need to change my life, everything changed for me. Everything changed for me. But I had to celebrate the little achievements. The first achievement was really when I said that I prayed and I found this book of Socrates. And I found it and I read the story about this guy who was also in a segregated housing unit. And because I read his story, that was a celebration for me of achievement. because all of a sudden I could put that book on my chest. I could lay back on my rack. I could think, okay, this is the time. This is the day that I'm going to change my life. It's going to start right here, right now. I'm done making decisions that are going to put me in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system. I'm done making decisions that are going to disappoint my family. I'm done making decisions that can really derail the prospects for success in my life. That was an achievement. I felt a great sense of liberty come over me when I realized just really what had been going wrong. It wasn't that I sold cocaine. It was that I had, I was reading a philosopher. Socrates was a philosopher. And he helped me see that I had a bad philosophy. Instead of thinking about what role I have in contributing to the building of a better society, I only thought about my own immediate gratification. So I felt that by changing the way I thought and thinking differently, that was an achievement. That was going to change the rest of my life. And I knew it. I knew it that morning as clear as day. I don't know if it was morning or afternoon, but I do remember what I did next. Next achievement. I picked up a pencil and I wrote a letter to the newspaper because I wanted to draw my line in the sand. I wanted to say, I'm done being a criminal. You want to know what I did wrong and what I learned from this and what I'm going to do better? And more importantly, what am I going to do when I'm in prison to reconcile with society, to become better, to make the best use of this time? Here's the outline and you can come and see me. That was an achievement. I felt like I did something. I wasn't just waiting for the system to do something to me. I took action. And I could celebrate that achievement. I could feel like I did something, okay? Then when I did the story with the guy and, it comes out in the newspaper and I see this article in the newspaper and those are my words saying, I'm in jail, I'm in the hole, but I'm going to change my life. And I saw the actual newspaper. It was saying, okay, now I've got a vested interest. So I'm going to celebrate this achievement. I'm going to say, this is a day. But I didn't know how I was going to do it, right? I mean, it was the start of my prison sentence. I hadn't even been sentenced yet, right? I know I'm facing life without parole, but I don't know what I'm going to get. All I know is I'm done. I'm done being a criminal. And I'm so glad that I drew the line in the sand because now everybody knows. Now, my family knows. Now, other prisoners could read the paper. They knew that I didn't care. That for me, it was an achievement to say, this is it. And then I get sentenced, and I don't control what my judge is going to sentence me to. I had no bearing on that. There wasn't anything I could do at that point to influence my sentence. I mean, I was convicted. I went to trial. I committed perjury on the stand. I made every bad decision a kid could make, but that was all part of the journey. And it was also part of the past, right? Knowing that I was building the future, that was a celebration, right? Nobody can fault, I can't fault anybody for the bad decisions anybody's made in the past or current circumstances. Yeah, but what we can say is it would be a tragic shame to not take this moment to begin building a better life. And if you do that, you can celebrate that achievement. You can celebrate an achievement such as, I'm going to start choosing different books to read. I'm going to start choosing to delay gratification so that I can prepare for a better outcome. I read a lot about success out here, and I recently read a story of a study that has been done time and time again, and it's done this study with babies. Really, they're like 3 or 4 years old infants, right? And the study is the scientist or the experiment coordinator or researcher has all the students in a room or the children in a room, and he gives them all a marshmallow. And there's the task. And it says, now don't eat that marshmallow for 2 hours or whatever. And if you don't eat it, then I'm going to give you another marshmallow. And then he walks out and lets the kids play. 2 hours come back, half the students have eaten the marshmallow, half the students or some percentage haven't eaten the marshmallow. That's not the issue. The issue is what happens afterwards. They follow these students that were part of this control group, and they say, how did their life mature over the next 20 years? And without exception, you take the students that were able to delay gratification, meaning they didn't eat the marshmallow, the ones who waited to get 2 marshmallows, those students had a far more successful life. They got better tests in school. They were better students. They got into better universities. They got better paying jobs. They were happier. They had less instances of substance abuse or turmoil or problems with the law versus the people that couldn't stop, right? And that's just science, right? If you can train your mind to stop thinking about getting a reward today and start training your mind to have a reward in the future, you can start sowing these seeds, nurturing these seeds, feeding this prospect for success. That is the essential message of success. But the way that you sustain the energy and the discipline is to celebrate the little achievements. It's knowing that every single decision has an influence on what you're going to become. It's knowing that in order to, if I'm sitting in a pit and I need to get out of this pit, I can't build the top rung on the ladder first. I got to start at the lowest rung so I can start growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and climbing my way out into prosperity, coming out of struggle. That's the message. That's the message that we've got to embrace. And just getting that message, we can celebrate. Because it will change. If it works for you the way it works for me, it will help you realize, well, it helped me realize I had a bad philosophy before. I was the kid who ate the marshmallow, didn't wait for the second marshmallow. And that was a pattern throughout my life. I didn't pay attention in school. I didn't pay attention to my parents. I didn't pay attention to counselors or anybody. It wasn't until I went to prison and there was nothing that I could do to get out of prison earlier. Nothing. That's when I realized I had a bad philosophy. That's when I realized I got to start saving. I got to start building. I got to start creating. I got to find a way to build a better life. And the decisions that I make in here are going to have an enormous influence on my prospects for success. Now, there's another analogy that I'll use, and it's the analogy of making small deposits in your bank, okay? You right now are making decisions in your life. I don't know what they are. I don't know where you are. You may be, on the left side of the scale with regard to prison, meaning you're just coming into the system. You may be on the right side of the scale, meaning you're just about to get out. You may be somewhere in between those points, right? What I do know is this. It's never too early and it's never too late to begin sowing seeds for a better life. Right? And those seeds, every seed that you sow is an accomplishment. It's an achievement. It's something to celebrate because you can use those seeds as a case study, as a point of proof that you are doing something. I can tell you that there are many people outside of prison walls that I've met since I've come out here that really need this message as well. Because they may not be locked up, but they're in a prison of their own mind. They're unhappy and they don't know how to get out of things, right? You may know people like this that are in a job that they hate, right? And all they do is make excuses for their own failure. And they don't necessarily want to succeed on their own. They just want everybody around them to fail. You know people like that, right? When I interview some people, they call it the crabs in the bucket syndrome. Right? You ever see crabs in a bucket? Apparently you put all the crabs in a bucket and some are going to try and climb the wall and get out of the bucket. Well, they're not all trying to climb the wall. The others will gather around and pull the crab down so it stays in the bucket, right? You may know that theory. You may know that there are people that don't want you to succeed. And that's why you've got to celebrate every little achievement. You've got to listen and learn from every resource that can help you grow. I remember very clearly when I was reading about Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X. One of my earlier guests, Malik Wade, spoke about how Malcolm really influenced him, and I still remember the scene. Right, I was still in the shoe, and somehow I got a copy of the book or something from a book cart. And as I'm reading the book, I get to this stage after you see all of Malcolm's criminal background. You read about him when he's in the jail cell and he's learning how to read. And he craves it so badly that when lights go out, he goes and bunkers up next to the door so he can catch the light from the corridor and continue reading. And he's talking about how he's learning new words and learning his vocabulary. And I remember how that launched me on this path of wanting to build my vocabulary. Because I believe that if I build my vocabulary, maybe someday I could become a communicator like Malcolm became. It's influencing people, that's leading people, that's helping people achieve what they believed in. And whether you believe the concepts of Malcolm X or not, that's not the message I'm trying to convey. The message is it's a principled path. And I followed that principled path to become successful, to learn, to learn one word and then 5 words and then 10 words and then 15 words and celebrating it. Because each of those little achievements, I can tell you, they build upon each other, right? And they build in geometric proportions. You know what that means? Geometric proportions. Think of a snowball, right? You start with a snowball, you build it in your hands, right? You build the snowball, and then you start rolling it. And as it's rolling, it doesn't grow in the same proportion. It grows in bigger proportion because why? The ball starts taking on more snow and growing more. Well, that's what this course is about. The little things that you are going to learn today, they're going to build upon each other. And they're going to open more opportunities for you. And it's very important to look back and say, when did all of this start? That's what you've got to celebrate, because you start seeing, wait a minute, I worked hard yesterday. I worked hard a year ago. I worked hard 5 years ago. And that work, that effort that I put forth, it made that happen. And then this happened. And then this happened. And then this happened. And that's how I got there. Now, I'm not telling you, really, I suspect, anything that you don't know, right? But it's one thing to know the way to get through prison. It's another thing to walk the way. You've got to walk the walk. You've got to be for real. You've got to say, I am going to read these types of books. And every one of them is an achievement. Years into my sentence, I started to, I embarked upon this new path of writing book reports for every book that I read. And they were very simple. I think I wrote about it in these lesson plans. But they had a purpose, okay? I was so happy when I read something, number one, that I wanted to share it. But I also wanted to use this as a tool, because you can't fake it, right? To write a book report, anybody can say they read a book, but to write a book report, that takes action. And then you're left with something, a deposit, an achievement, something that you have, okay? Now, I started writing the book reports in a very systematic way, and I encourage people to use this same system. For me, it began with, I'd write the date that I read the book. I'd write the author's name of the book. Then I would write the title of the book that I read, okay? For example, I just finished reading. Right now, since I'm home, I hardly ever read. Instead, now you can listen to books on audio. So when I run with my iPhone. It's about the size of a book, but I keep these right now. That's how long I've been talking. That's how I measure this. I use my iPhone and I listen to this program called Audible, where I can download a book and I can listen to books while I'm running, because I'm working all the time. The only time I have to read and to invest in my own education is when I'm running. I run long distances, so I listen to books for like 2 hours at a time. and I get information. And the cool thing is I can push a button on it and mark a section that I like. And then if I want to make a note, I can just push the button on my phone and speak into the microphone and record a note, right? So that's my method now. But when I was in prison, I didn't have all those awesome tools, right? All I had was a pen and paper. So I'd write my book reports. I'd write the date. I'd write the name of the author. I'd write the title of the book. Like this morning, I just finished reading the book or listening to the book called Leap by a guy named Seth Godin, who's kind of a success guru. And then I would answer 3 questions. Each book report would answer 3 questions. One of them was, why did I read the book? First question was, why did I read the book, right? What prompted me to read the book? Number 2 was, what did I learn from reading the book? And number 3 was, how will reading the book contribute to my success upon release, right? So, for example, if I were writing that book report in prison right now for Leap, I would write Seth Godin. I would write title of the book, Leap. And then in my answer to my first question, I would write this. I found the book Leap on a website for books on success. When I read that article about what it was about, I learned that Seth Godin is somebody who counsels CEOs, and he helps them with marketing, and he helps them bring products to marketplace. And I'm always striving to bring products to the marketplace. So I wanted to hear how he did it. So I decided to read the book. And then it says, what did I learn from reading this book? Well, I learned that all of these leaders follow a principled path. It's the same principled path that I have learned from people who lived 10,000 years ago, whether it was during the Roman era or Jesus or newer era, whether it was Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. They all follow the same principle. And so it reinforces me. And so I feel a sense of salary. So I would have written that out. And I said, how will having read this book contribute to my success upon release? And I would write that out. Well, when I get out of prison, I want to persuade businesses to partner with me so that I can make up for all the time that I lost. I want to create more opportunities. I want to help more people achieve their highest level of success. And if I have all of these book reports, I will be able to show them this is how hard I worked. And, I just ad-libbed that. But basically, by creating those records, I could celebrate because I felt as if I were truly taking measurable steps to prepare for success. And I can tell you they worked, man. They opened big doors for me. They got me big checks. They allowed me to build the businesses. They allowed me to purchase real estate. They allowed me to build my asset base. And they allow me to communicate with you, right? You're going to see in my last episode, I got an interview that I did with a federal judge. Amazing, right? Here I am, guy did 26 years in prison, and now I have relationships with federal judges or with U.S. attorneys. And you will see the U.S. attorney on one of my, she was a client of mine, right? I do this all over the country, but why? Because I was able to document all the little achievements I made when I was in prison that positioned me for success along the way. And that's why I'm asking you, even if you've got a life sentence, if you've got 10 years, if you got 3 years, if you got, I don't know what you got, start making achievements. Document those achievements. Celebrate those achievements. They will give you the strength to make better decisions. They will give you the strength to reject the negativity, to reject the criminal lifestyle, to step away from volatility and focus instead on what you can become. What you say is important to you. It will help you choose words better. It will help you think better. It will help you stay disciplined, even while you got to get through a long, difficult journey. This was how I fueled myself. It is what I learned from other people. It is what I learned from masterminds. And I hope that you will embrace this concept of celebrating every achievement. So I think that's about it for this lesson. I will be bringing you another guest, but as I said, I don't know who's going to show up first, so we'll just have to wait and see. Again, I will challenge you to answer a question at the end of this video. If you have the courage and the inclination, please get your response to me through email at either michael@prisonprofessor.com or michael@michaelsantos.com, or whoever. Just if you send it to me digitally, one of my interns is going to copy your answer and publish it on the Jobs and Resources for Felons website, so that we can show more people out here how hard you are working to prepare for success upon release. And that is something we all can celebrate. Thank you.